In this particular revision, we'll look at Bootstrap, JavaScript array, JSON, and also local storage. So we'll make use of the Bootstrap to make the page to be mobile responsive. And we'll store the JavaScript array into the local storage. But before you can store the JavaScript array into the local storage, you have to convert it into a JSON string. So to apply Bootstrap, we'll include the bootstrap.css, and also we need to include the jQuery.js and bootstrap bundle.js. We have a division div that applies the container fluid class from Bootstrap. Inside the div, we have a heading 1 to display customer parking, and we have a form. Inside the form, we have 3 divs, and all the 3 divs, we apply the form group class from Bootstrap. Inside the div, there's a label, and also there's an input element. For the input element, so we have a input text box for the user to enter the full name, and also we have an input text box for the user to enter the hours. Both of the input text boxes, we apply the form control class from Bootstrap. And then we also have a submit button and the reset button. So the submit button and the reset button, we apply the btn class and btn primary class from Bootstrap. And then we have a div that we apply the alert class and alert success class from Bootstrap. So this will be the Bootstrap alert. So we make use of jQuery to empty the content in the element that has the ID display. So which is this div. So we empty the content for this div element. And we hide the div element using the jQuery hide method. So we also handle the submit event for the form. We will retrieve the value from the full name input text box and assign to the variable fname. We will also retrieve the value from the hours input text box, convert it to a floating point number, and assign to the variable hours. Then we will declare a JavaScript object. So the JavaScript object, it has the full name property and the parking hours property. The value for the full name property comes from the variable fname, and the value for the parking hours property comes from the variable hours. Then we'll push the object to the variable obj array. So obj array is declared as an array, and it is a global variable. Then we make use of the sort method to sort the, also do it this way. The parameter can be a BA. So this will be a B minus A. So if the parking hours in A is greater than the parking hours in B, so then it will be sorted. So this will be it will sort it into ascending order. So, but since you want to have the content in the object array to be in a descending order from big to small, we'll use the reverse method to reverse all the elements inside the object array. And then we will use the stringify method, json.stringify, to convert the object array into a JSON string before we store it into the local storage, the parking item. And then we'll display the div element, this div element. So to display it, we will call the show method from jQuery, and we'll display this in the div element, the full name and the parking hours. In the second program, we will retrieve the JSON data from local storage. So we will also apply Bootstrap. So we include the bootstrap.css. We also include the jQuery.js and bootstrap bundle.js. So we have a div that applies the container fluid class. Then inside the form, we have three divs that apply the form group class from Bootstrap. And for the input element, the input text boxes, we apply the form control class. And for the submit and the reset button, we apply the btn class and btn primary class. So when the user clicks the submit button, we will retrieve the value from the full name input text box and assign to the variable name. And we'll call the get payable amount function, passing name as the parameter. So inside the get payable amount function, we declare an array and also the parking hours variables. We retrieve the value from the local storage parking item and we'll convert it back into JavaScript object using json.parse. And then we will find in the object for the element with the full name, with the name that we pass into the parameter, name parameter. And we retrieve the parking hours from that array element. So then we are able to perform the calculation if the parking hours falls between 0 and 3, the charge is 2 ringgit. But if the parking hours is more than 3 hours, then the charge is 2 ringgit plus 0.5 multiplied with the ceiling of the additional hours that the user parked. And the maximum charge is 10 ringgit. So if the charges computed is greater than 10 ringgit, we'll set it back to 10 ringgit. So the function will return the charge amount and we assign to the variable payable amount. So we will display the content in the variable payable amount in the input text box, in this input text box. So for this particular input text box, it is disabled, meaning that the user will not be able to enter anything into it. So that is for the second program. Now let us browse it in the web browser. The first program, so we'll browse it in the Google Chrome. So as you can see, the UI is applying the Bootstrap, so it's mobile responsive. So let us enter the full name. So the first user, Ali, 6 hours. Then, so as you can see, once the user clicks the submit button, it will appear in the Bootstrap alert. Then the second user, so the parking hours, 8 hours. And for the third user, so if you view the developer tools, if you open the developer tools, you'll be able to see inside the if you click on application, you'll be able to see the local storage will have 3 items inside. Okay, so for the user Lian Ame, the user Ali, and also for the user Bing Yujin. And as you can see, the parking hours are sorted into descending order. Next, we'll browse the second page. So let's say Ali. So for Ali, so we'll enter the full name as Ali. Click the submit button, and you can see that the payable amount is 3.5. So that's because the parking hours for Ali is 6 hours. So for the first 3 hours, it is 2 ringgit, and for the subsequent additional hours and part thereof, it will be 50 cents for each additional hours. So meaning that there are 3 additional hours. So the additional charges is 150. So therefore, so as you can see, for the first 3 hours, the parking charges is 2 ringgit. So 2 ringgit plus 150, that will give you 350. And let's say if it is Lian Ame, okay, so Lian Ame. So Lian Ame park for 8 hours. So first 3 hours is 2 ringgit. Additional 5 hours will be 250. So total is 4 ringgit and 50 cents. And for the next user is Beng Eugene. So Beng Eugene park for 5 hours. Okay. So the first 3 hours is 2 ringgit, and additional 2 hours will be 1 ringgit. So 2 ringgit plus 1 ringgit is 3 ringgit. Okay. So that is how the program works.